1985. There was never a penal colony here. It was free settled. They knew there was good land here, and some wealthy Englishmen and the government today over there sent the surveying team out. They formed a company, the South Australia Company, so basically it was about making money. Sent the surveying team out who planned the city, laid out plots of land they could sell, and then started selling lands to wealthy. Some were investors, some people wanted to come, and then they offered free passage out to workers, the people that couldn't otherwise afford to come, but that you needed to help build and feed the colony. So it was started like a business, free settled. A lot of quite wealthy English people came here, often second and third sons, because in those days the first son by law inherited the property, and subsequent siblings would have got money or something to make it more equitable. But of the house and all the land with the old son. So a lot of the subsequent siblings were the sort of people that bought land here and came out and settled and got into business, started built their churches. We have a lot of churches around Adelaide that were built by some of those early English folk. So yeah, it was settled much like a business towards the end of the 1830s, and there were a number of waves of migration following that, including the Germans, which I'll talk about as we're heading along near Arndorf. Lots of lovely sandstone houses. You can see the beautiful sandstone there. You see a lot of that. It's probably the most common stone. The Adelaide Hills is basically all stone with a bit of soil on top. So it's the stone was very readily available. This is blue stone you see on this pub here. That's the other sort of stone. It's a bit like slate. And it weathers beautifully. That's not looking very weathered because it's recently been stripped. They've taken off the plaster, and so it's still looking quite like it would have when it was first built. But you'll see some as you go along with the blue stone. Even that wall over there, you can see it's some are dark, some are light, some are a bit orange. It weathers really beautifully. I really love blue stone. It just looks wonderful.
What about the weather down here? Do you get a lot of rain or?
Not a lot, no. I think 20 inches a year is about our average, which we haven't had for 4 or 5 years. We had a reasonable winter of rain this year, in that while it was still below average, it was steady. We got regular rains, decent rains, so it wasn't too bad. But the couple of years prior to that, it's been very dry, and we were very close to drought conditions. So this is Glen Osmond Road. Most of the roads in around Adelaide are on the grid system, so north, south, east, west. But off each corner of the city, there's one road that angles away. And this one, Glen Osmond Road, just leads up to the foothills and then onto the road which leads to Melbourne. And this is the southeast. This heads onto the southeast of the freeway, which we'll join shortly.
How's the economy going down here generally?
Look, South Australia has always been one of the weaker economies in Australia. The population's never really grown a lot. In fact, it's often gone backwards through the 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We were shrinking. A lot of young people left Adelaide to make their way in the world, to further their careers, studies and whatever, but very often they come back because it is a good place to live. Adelaide people really love Adelaide, and many of them, once they start a family, choose to come back here because it's a relatively safe and easy to get around sort of place. But the economy is a little better. In some areas we're doing better than most. I was reading an article just recently. But overall, we're still, one of the weaker economies in Australia. Our primary industry is agriculture. We don't have any mine. Well, we have only a little mining. We've got some uranium up in the north, and mixed metal mines, but it's not, we don't have the big iron mines like Western Australia and Queensland. So agriculture is our biggest industry, followed by, I think, education, so foreign students. And defence is quite a big industry too. We have some shipbuilding and a big Air Force base, so defence plays a large part in South Australian industry as well. So we're just coming up to the sort of the last intersection before we head into the hills. It's really an interesting little corner here. If you look on the right, just the other side of these two big trees here, you'll see the old Carmelite convent. So the Catholic convent there. Lovely old buildings. It's now been developed with the old folks home and aged care facility and stuff. And then on the other corner behind the stone wall over there is the monastery. So there's a Catholic monastery as well, where the blokes are. There was always a bit of a story about there being a tunnel between the two, but I'm not entirely sure that that's true. And then over here we have the old Anglican church and then the newer Anglican church, St Saviour's. And weirdly, as we go across the lights, you'll see a lovely old colonial building, one of the really early buildings built in the 1830s. Was called the colonial, but now it's a Sikh temple. So it looks nothing like a